The time is now 7 p.m. We are going to call Narragansett Town Council regular meeting. It is Tuesday, September 5th. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I would like to offer a moment of silence for Matt Callahan, who passed away on August 26th. He was our former solicitor and the father of James Callahan, who was also our solicitor. Thank you. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept and place on file the minutes from the following August 7th, 2023 executive session meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to accept and place on file the minutes from the following August 7th, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have our town manager's update.
Good evening, everyone. The first item on the agenda for the manager's update is the library. The project appears still to be on target for the completion date by the end of this calendar year. The balance of the $1.5 million library bridge loan is now at $340,000. A bike path update. Mike DeLuca has been monitoring the progress of the DePreet study for the bike path, and they have reported just recently that they've completed the traffic studies, the counts at 3 of the Narragansett Avenue intersections and of Kingstown Beach and Mathewson. They're analyzing the data now, and they should have a draft report for us by October 15th. This report will summarize the possible routes, evaluate the possibility of providing an on-road route. They'll also provide crossing details and a typical striping cross-section of the roadway along these routes. But October 15th is when they feel that they'll have that analysis done. The town will be holding a fall recycling collection event, which is scheduled for Saturday, September 16th from 9 to 12 at the north lot of the town beach. We received some kudos for our town staff. There'll be more tonight with the proclamation. I also received a letter of thanks from the town of New Shoreham for our fire department's assistance during the fire at the harbor side over there. And I received another letter of thanks from a resident that sustained a house fire that was quickly extinguished. And in that letter, the homeowner cited both the police and fire personnel who did a fantastic job and treated them very compassionately and courteously. With URI moving in and everyone asking questions about the party patrol and what the protocols will be, the chief has put together a package. We've gone over it. And starting last night, the Narragansett Police Department began to execute what they call the Fall Action Plan, the mission of which is to effectively control and reduce criminal activity, reduce quality of life complaints, and enforce all town ordinance violations. Additionally, additional officers, 4 to 8 per shift, will be working Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. The shifts will practice saturation patrol of the areas that have a history of nuisance complaints. Both vehicular and pedestrian traffic will be the focus of the patrol, with strict enforcement on all violations. Towing enforcement details will be filled by 2 traffic constables Fridays and Saturday nights to assist with the parking enforcement. Residents that are disturbed by nuisance complaints are encouraged to call the police department at 789-1091 for non-emergency nuisance complaints. Complainants should provide as much detail as possible about their observations, but they will not be required to provide their names. The police can independently verify their complaints. The chief also pushed out a lot on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, regarding the types of violations that they will be strictly enforcing over the next few weeks, including disturbing the peace, public nuisance, urinating in public, public consumption in an open container, social host, and underage possession of alcohol, all which carry a fine of $500. And that is about it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. So next on the agenda, we have a proclamation honoring the 2023 Narragansett Lifeguards. So whereas in 1928, the lifeguards were formed to protect the patrons of Narragansett, whereas the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards display the utmost professionalism and work tirelessly to provide public safety and assist the patrons at the beach, and whereas the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards have had successful ocean assists, rescues, and first aid responses in 2023, and whereas the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards experienced the strongest rip currents in the past 30 years, and whereas the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards assisted in numerous rescues during the 2023 beach season, rescuing swimmers who could not get back to shore, and whereas the Narragansett Lifeguards remind us of the joys and challenges associated with the beaches, and whereas the Narragansett Lifeguards participated in competitive lifeguard competitions, and whereas the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards won their 34th consecutive Rhode Island State Tournament Championship Lifeguard Tournament Championship. Now, therefore, all our citizens join with us in extending to the 2023 Narragansett Town Beach Lifeguards our deep appreciation and our best wishes for continued success in all of their future endeavors. Adopted this 5th day of September 2023. Yeah. So we just want to say thank you very much, and we all of us up here appreciate each and every one of you, and appreciated everything you've done during this beach season and in the past years. So I'm going to come out and present you with the proclamation.
Brian, you smiling? Dave, you smiling? Thumbs up. Well done.
Thank you. All right, so next we will move on to the open forum public comment portion of our meeting. As a reminder, open forum public comment is a time for any member of the public to speak on a topic not on the meeting agenda. A sign-in sheet is available to members of the public who wish to speak during open forum public comment and located at the table in the back of the council chambers. Speakers will be called in the order as they appear on the sign-in sheet. Before open forum public comment is closed, members of the public who did not sign up will be given the chance to speak. Speaking in a meeting during open forum public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers are required to state their name and address before speaking and are expected to conduct themselves in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of the meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by the body, but heard as requested. Does Jim have a list?
The first name on the list is Roberta Dupree.
Okay. Ms. DePreet?
Hi, I'm Roberta Depreet, and this is I get emotional, my mom, Dolores Depreet, who lives in Jerusalem at 1127 Succotash Road, where she lives alone and has lived in that home since 1966. And for the first time that I've known her, I've seen my mother very afraid. And I want to thank the town council for listening to us and for all the staff at this building who have been so helpful, the assessor's office and the manager's office. And you might know my cousin Dennis Depreet. He did my mom's survey. He works with all of you, and and Chief Corrigan, thank you so much. So Jerusalem is a tiny village, isolated and completely dependent on you for services and law enforcement. Ocean Avenue is the only public conduit to the beach. Owners at the end have encroached on Ocean Avenue by many feet. This shunts people directly onto my mother's land. This needs to be reclaimed by the town. This land needs to be reclaimed by the town to benefit all residents and to promote beach access. Someone placed large boulders at the end of Ocean Avenue, preventing emergency equipment to get to the beach, which has happened. And these boulders should be removed for everyone's safety. The boundaries of Ocean Avenue need to be marked. My mother's property abuts Ocean Avenue, and she happens to have, I don't know whether it's 1.5 or 3 lots. It just happens to be a big, big parcel. And abuts Ocean Avenue, and there's no signage. People don't know, and the road is narrowed, and they want to go right onto her property, and they're very hostile when they can't sit on her property. And she cannot defend it alone, and I live in California. She needs help. Due to the boulders and the encroachment, neighbors' encroachment, and they've taken quite a bit of land and put snow fence around it. People are steered right, and she alone takes the full brunt for the entire strip of private beach. There's only 9 homes, 9 or 10, and everybody's friendly, but she takes the hit, and that buffers them. And she simply can't do it. And signs are needed stating where the town property ends, and I don't know if you can do this, but where private property begins. Notices could be sent in tax bills stating which beach is accessible and which is not, and requiring those notices to be posted in rentals. Dogs are terrorizing neighbors daily. The leash law, unfortunately, is scoffed at, and it is impossible for animal control to patrol it constantly. We deserve the same policy the town beach and state beaches enjoy. We have tried allowing leashing dogs, which dog owners have largely ignored. It's time for the rest of us to enjoy our freedom, which has been sacrificed to the dogs. My own mother was...
Ms. Dupree, your
Is
time.
it over?
Yes, yeah.
Can I take my mother's time?
Oh, she can speak.
Well, yeah, okay.
She can,
Here.
she can speak,
I
yeah.
would like to say, I am Dolores Dupree. We bought our property, and I think it was 1968, and used it for a summer home. And then, once the children were all through the high school and college, off to college, my husband and I lived down there year-round. And over the years, we've had a lot of hurricanes and stuff, but even before that, we lost many feet of our beach. So what I have is less and less. We had to shorten our walk from the living room door, had to shorten that because of the storm. And so my property is shrinking, and I try to take care of it, but I'm getting very old and hobbly, so I can't do much. But I do wish that Ocean Avenue would have a sign saying town property ends here, just as the State Beach has a sign saying state property ends here. So all the other 8 houses in line with me, they don't get people coming because they observe the sign that says state property ends in it. If they want to come down, they have to walk in the water or the 10-foot place. So I would like that signage put up on Ocean Avenue. I'd like Ocean Avenue straightened out, cleaned up, marked so they know they have 30 feet. And along with all this, I want this all to go in ordinances that will have to be mailed out, maybe with the tax bills, to every single homeowner in Jerusalem, because they don't believe that I can own land from Succotash Road to the water. And if I want somebody to sit on it, okay. And if I don't want anybody to sit on it, they should observe my wishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And they're hostile,
Okay,
they're
thank you.
scuffling.
Thank
So
you, ma'am.
We need help.
In
Thank-
fact, I have to add one more thing. One night, about 8 o'clock, it was still light, middle of the summer, and I went to walk out my catwalk, I call it, to say goodnight to the ocean. And I looked to my left. In my dunes are the frames of 2 tents. I was horrified. I ran in the house and called the police. While they're waiting for him, I locked every window on my first floor, which I've never done in my life, and waited till the police came. They saw the tents. They said, we can't do anything about it. We'll come in the daytime when somebody's sitting in it, and then we know who to approach. Well, the people were in it. The police came. They came up on the porch. The police stayed on the porch. Somebody from the tent came up and wanted to know what the problem was. He happened to be a neighbor and never let
Yeah,
me
thank you,
know
ma'am.
that he
Thank-
was-
thank
he had
you.
put up tents, and I was scared to death, and I don't want to go through that ever
Yeah.
again. I have to keep
Yeah,
my ugly
sorry.
words.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Next on the list,
Catherine Canavan.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. Thank you, honored council members, town manager, and all dignitaries. Throughout the years, Narragansett has experienced dissension and disagreement amongst its council members and residents on such issues as the library and rentals. We are blessed and privileged to live in one of the most beautiful seaside communities in the world, so let's work collectively to fight for what is right. An overwhelming majority support our fight to prevent proxy anti-developers from creating a massive street-level parking lot in our world-renowned fishing port. If this proposed development was allowed, it would have driven more people out of Galilee and into Block Island. Ironically, while we are fighting proxy anti in Galilee, the town is attempting to put 170 parking signs along the pier to make a day trip to Narragansett more problematic. In addition, any additional signage along Ocean Road will forever take away the natural unobstructed view of our ocean. Our town manager mentioned there will be some discussion on sign pollution. We support the idea of replacing the existing signs with new signs along Boone Street and similar roads that will allow those without a parking permit to park on those roads. That is a business-friendly initiative. I have been reviewing the latest legal briefs by proxy ante developers, and they've been filed in Superior Court. In the latest amended motion and legal brief filed by proxy ante developers' legal team, they delineate their rationale as to why they should be able to retain their lease and why the town of Narragansett was unjustified in ordering them to demolish the Lighthouse Dutch Inn. After substantial public outcry and a demonstration to take proxy anti-developers out of Galilee, the RIDM stated it has terminated its lease with PRI 10. The town of Narragansett and its building inspector, Wayne Pimental, put PRI 10 on notice for the need to demolish the Lighthouse and Dutch Inn. PRI 10 is now answering back with its rationale to retain its street-level parking lot lease. PRI 10 is now filing suit against the town of Narragansett, and our town is requesting PRI 10 to demolish its building. One still needs to ask, why hasn't the town enforced its zoning requirements, and why has the RIDM not issued a cease and desist order to PRI 10 to cease operations of its street-level parking lot immediately? For this year, 2023, PRI 10 has continued to operate its street-level parking lot while its lease has expired. Why? Why is the town of Narragansett not fined PRI 10 for failing to demolish its building? While the letter written by our town building inspector was well-written, it clearly notes the building is a health, safety, and environmental hazard. We now want to know if there is any accountability for PRI 10 for failing to comply with our town's justifiable request to demolish their abandoned building. PRI 10 contends the RIDM has continued to accept checks when the hotel was abandoned, so it must have condoned the hotel being abandoned. Therefore, PRI 10 argues, if the lease was enforced for years before, how can it terminate the lease now, as they have been complying with the paying the taxes, having insurance on the building, and complying with some of the other requirements by the RIDEM? It then argues that
Thank you,
the town-
Dr. Alba.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next.
Jim, can I ask a point of clarification?
Could I just interrupt for 1 second on that? Keep in mind that the negotiations between the state and DEM on the demolition process have not been finalized yet. It remains in litigation.
I also wanted to ask, are there currently plans to put 170 signs on Ocean Road by the town?
No. not
Thank
at
you.
all.
Next on the list.
Catherine Canavan?
Hi, Catherine Canavan, 190 Clock Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. Thank you for listening. It then argues that the town of Narragansett does not have the authority to order the building to be demolished, as the hotel is not owned by them and it is on state leased land, so it is outside the jurisdiction of the town. In addition, it adds, since the building is on leased land, the zoning by the town is not binding, so they are not required to have a special use permit, nor are they required to comply with the zoning. The above arguments by PRI 10 can be answered as follows. At Zoom meetings, PRI 10 put forth proposals because it felt if an acceptable proposal was not reached, their lease would be terminated. Why would Proclamation developers entertain and spend hours attending the Zoom meetings if it felt it could continue to retain its parking lot lease regardless of the proposal submitted? It is evident that the RIDEM and PRI 10 generated an RFP to see what the best use would be for the 5-acre parcel. Having continued street-level parking on 2 of the lots in the 5-acre parcel was not a goal or objective for the proposal submitted. Why would PRI 10 even entertain generating an RFP if they felt their existing lease was valid and could not be terminated? In addition, a rubric was generated to rate each proposal submitted. The RIDEM, PRI 10 were critical of the town's proposal with respect to the proposed residential housing, as it noted. Residential property is not aligned with the area uses, nor is it mentioned in the town's comprehensive plan related to the commercial fishing port of Galilee. Yet the legal brief, PRI 10 notes, the town has no control over zoning on state leased land. Clearly, having continued street-level parking is not allowed with the town's comprehensive plan. The RIDEM and PRI 10 the RIDEM gave PRI 10 a 180-day extension to its previous 5-year lease, as it believes PRI 10 or another developer may put forth a viable plan for the 5-acre parcel. So the lease was extended for 180 days, and PRI 10 was a holdover tenant. PRI 10 did not argue that an extension was not needed. Dr. Alba requested to see if a lease extension was granted via an APRA request, and the correspondence noted a new lease was not awarded to PRI 10. In addition, as Attorney Landry noted, PRI 10 LLC breached and defaulted on its lease by failing to maintain its property and failed to continue to operate a motel and restaurant business on the RIDEM leased land. Attorney Landry also noted PRI 10 will be liable for demolition costs, legal costs. Let us hope the town also will motion to courts for PRI 10 to pay all legal costs associated with defending itself.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note.
Time's up.
Yep, I just wanted to state that I know there's no plans just yet for signs, but we just want to reiterate.
Yes,
don't
we,
want the
thank you,
signs.
thank you. Next,
Ms. Anna
Mr. Chair.
Branca.
Finishing Dr. Alba's statement, Anna Frankar, 19 Earls Court, Narragansett. The State Properties Committee never voted to renew the lease by PRI 10 and the RIDEM. Therefore, the contention by Proclamation developers that PRI 10 could retain its lease or that the lease was extended another 5 years is null and void. PRI 10 falsely stated that they did not own the building. The property record card shows PRI 10 as the owner. In the latest legal brief dated 8/11/2023, it was noted PRI 10 is not the hotel owner of record of the property or the owner in fee simple, absolute, of the motel. PRI 10 says the town of Narragansett does not have the authority to order its company, Proclamation Developers, to demolish its building. In the Rhode Island General Law 25-24-34, Section B, excuse me, it notes a city or town can enforce zoning that complies with its comprehensive plan. Case law shows the state supremacy law cannot usurp the powers of a city or town when the town acts to protect its residents. We need to play hardball and not softball. Let's have our legal team join the fight collectively with the RIDEM and the RIAG's legal team. We cannot, as residents, be kept in the dark. Our elected and appointed officials need to be transparent and expose corruption within our town, so those who are culpable will be held accountable. United we stand, divided we fall. Let's work at making Narragansett the most welcoming seaside town in the nation and not the most unwelcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the list.
The next speaker is Michelle, Cotri-Anna Catranio. Thank you.
Hi. The reason why, thank you for listening to me. The reason why I'm up here is I have a rental that is a 5-bedroom that evidently I can't even.
Ma'am, you need to state your name and address.
Excuse me?
You need to state your name and address.
My name is Michelle Cotronio. My rental address is 20 Southwest Road.
Your current address where you live.
My current address is 267 Bennett Hill Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The reason why I'm up here is I'm seeing several things. Number one, I have a rental. We built the house in 1999. I've done everything I can. Unfortunately, I have to rent the house. I grew my family up here, and I have to rent my house. And since all this is going on, I'm putting limits on and everything, and I have a mortgage. I have a big mortgage. I need to rent my house. I do whatever I can to work with my neighbors. I have no problems. I give the association my phone numbers. And I know I joined an association in my neighborhood, and I found when I originally joined, that's not all the neighbors. It's not everybody. It's a small group that claim they're representing the neighborhoods, and they're not. And I really think there's so much division now that I'm seeing. And talking to neighbors, my neighborhood is so quiet. I walk it all the time. I try to sit down with Paul Z, which I guess he was at one point part of the town council. He won't even talk to me. He's supposed to be, you'd think that he would at least try to make the neighbors and bring everyone together and stop all this craziness of arguing and everything. You're causing so much division. I really want to meet with every neighborhood association. I really want to know which neighborhoods are so bad. And I understand there's some worse than others. But I'm seeing over the years, I don't see it as bad as everyone's claiming it is. But then, a lot of this is, I'm not trying to label, but a lot of this can be a lot of snowbirds that seem to have more say than me. Now, whether you know it or not, whether you're on VRBO or anything, you can't even list your property, and that's just registered. And you pay hotel tax, everything goes up. People are acting like, I'm rolling in this money. I am not. I have a big mortgage, all right? And it's not fair, and you're not being fair. And anybody I try to talk to on these associations, they either block me, like Catherine C., all right, which I wanted to try. I disagreed on something, and she blocked me. All right, I'm not big on social media, but I have to figure out what's going on by going on there. And it's stupid.
Sorry, your time is up, and I have to move to public
Oh, can I say one more
hearing.
thing?
This time 7, I have to move to public hearing.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. I just want to make sure that she lives in Florida full-time, and and
Thank
her
you.
license is Florida resident.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we need to move to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Time is 7:30. I can't, no. We can return back to public comment. This is 7:30. I need to do the public hearing right now. We have a motion to reschedule to October 2nd, 2023, a public hearing acting as the Urban Renewal Board of Review on a request from 23 Pier Narragansett LLC, doing business as Agave Social Club, to amend the last approved site use plan at Assessor's Plat C, Lot 181-1A, 23 Pier Marketplace, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I'm not going to be here.
Okay. But this is just to reschedule.
To October 2nd, I'm not going to be here.
Okay. All right, so motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Next, we have a motion to reschedule to October 2nd, 2023, a public hearing on the application of 23 Pier Narragansett LLC, doing business as Agave Social Restaurant, for a new Class B victualler alcoholic beverage license at Assessor's Plat C, Lot 181-1A, 23 Pier Marketplace, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Abstain.
okay. Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Okay, we'll go back to our open forum public comment. Who is on the list?
Council President?
Yes.
We are receiving information that the audio is not functioning properly. We believe it may be a cable. If the council would like to take a
Okay.
brief recess so that Caleb can run back and see
Sure.
if they have a spare cable to replace it.
Okay, how much time would you need, Caleb? Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes. We'll be back in 5.
Thank you.
Ms. Celeberto, I saw you had raised your hand earlier.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. This is a rare occasion. I'm going to say something good about the police department. On August 8th, about noon, I received a text from my cousin, Lisa, who said, "My brother is at Uncle Joe's house, and he's not answering the door. He's been there 45 minutes, cars in the yard, journal hanging on the doorknob. We don't know what's going on." So I get in my car, I race up there, and I call dispatch on the way. And I get there, my cousin's pacing the lawn, he's very upset. Police officer arrives, it's Robert Grieco. I think that's the correct, Grieco. He was very calming, he had to calm my cousin down because he was very upset. Asked us, we engaged, we spoke about a number of different things. My brother-in-law is 86 years old. His wife had just died a few weeks earlier. His daughter had died the week before. So I'm explaining all of this to the police officer, and he asked me, does he have a gun? I guess he didn't hear he doesn't know about my philosophy that civilians shouldn't carry guns. But anyway, so we discussed, what was going on, and he ended up calling the fire department. They came. House was locked up like Fort Knox. Fire department decides they take an air conditioner out of the window. They did that, and they crawled in, and it was dark. So I was thinking the worst was going to happen. Anyway, the police officer, again, was very calming, mostly to my cousin Frankie, who, even though he's 65 years old, we still call him Frankie, was really upset, really upset. Everything turned out okay, and the police officer stayed to the bitter end until everybody was, secure, and my brother-in-law, they found him in the house, he was fine. And I just want to say that he really did a great job, this police officer, and he should be commended. Robert Greco. Is it Greco, G-R-I-E-C-O?
Greco.
It's still Greco? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing last chance for public comment? Okay, seeing none. Move on to the consent agenda. I am going to take out item D4. So motion to approve the consent agenda minus D4.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, so D4 is a motion to approve a Class F1 alcoholic beverage license for the Narragansett Lions Club for the Endless Summer Festival event to be held on September 15th and 16th, 2023 at the North Beach Clubhouse, 79 Boston Neck Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. So the location is actually incorrect on this motion, so I would like to ask a council member to amend the motion to have the language be at the Veterans Memorial Park instead.
I'd like to make the amendment to have the location changed from North Beach Clubhouse to Veterans Park.
I'll second
Veterans
that.
Memorial. Okay, so the motion to amend by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Cicilline Bonanno. Let's go back to the main motion and approve the main motion as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion.
Susan.
Oh, no.
Was there a vote on the amendment?
Oh, sorry. A motion on the amend. All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes, the amendment passes 5-0. We'll go back to the main motion to approve as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next, moving on to new business. Again, we allow public comment on new business. We do not take any comment on any motions that are to any second readings or any motions to refer. The first motion is from the town clerk's office and is a motion to reappoint one member to the Zoning and Plating Board of Review for a term to expire on July 1st, 2026, and two alternates for terms to expire on July 1st, 2024.
Do we want to do these all at one time or one at a time?
Do you think we can have a consensus with, maybe we can, if somebody wants to
Try
come up with a
that.
consensus for?
Try it all
Okay.
as one.
Okay,
So
we can
can I-
try it all as one if somebody wants to comment. So do I have a, so we're just going to open the motion. So,
So moved.
Second.
okay, so
have
for
a sug-
discussion, so we normally would nominate, and if you want to kind of come up with the plan.
So, could I proceed? Is that all right? I would like to nominate Tom Callahan for the available seat on the actual zoning board. I think he presented himself extremely well. He has some experience, which is always helpful, and I think he would be good in that role because he has a strong, understanding of the process. You want me to continue? Because I
Yeah.
can, okay. I would also, for the first alternate, recommend Ellen Cornell. I think that she also presented herself very well, and I think that she had a good sense of what it was that she was doing, and she was articulate and honest and fair about what she talked about. For the second alternate, I liked Ellen, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Broche.
Is it Christine?
I mean, Christine, I'm sorry, Christine, thanks, Susan. I felt that she has the ability to move forward in that role, and she has some experience that would be valuable to the group involved there. So those are my three choices.
I'd second that nominations.
Any discussion from the council? Any other nominations, or is everyone okay with that? Councilor,
I'd like to make a
Randy?
motion to have one adjustment to that, and that's Alvin Kamer as the second alternate.
So what do we do now?
okay, so then
wanna
we
attempt
just have to discuss it, come up with a consensus.
We all, do we have consensus for Tom for the first full position?
It's tough. We had 5 really good people come here tonight. Tom's done an excellent job. Ellen's done an excellent job. It's a tough call. I think probably where we're going to end up is with the alternates. I mean, I think that we have consensus on Tom. So the alternates, those are both great alternates, but Steve is suggesting, are you suggesting Alzheimer for the first or for the second?
So Steve is making a motion or actually wants the candidate. Tom with Ellen, Ms. Corno as the alternate, and then Alvin as the second alternate.
So
it was-
we're going to have to do it individually because I don't think.
I just-
I'm actually, so I'm okay with the slate that was proposed by Counselor Kopek and seconded by, was it Counselor Waller?
Me.
Oh, yeah, Counselor Cesari, but,
Yeah, me.
okay. So we can vote on that one, and then if we don't have a consensus on that one, we can move on to the second slate.
So for clarification, that's Thomas for the first full position, it's Ellen for the first alternate, and it's Christine for the second.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So shall we take a vote?
Did you want to speak a little bit about why you want Alzheimer?
Well, I think Mr. Keimer brings a real neighborhood perspective onto the zoning board. There are 3 attorneys at this point on the zoning board, and there's not really, they bring their attorney background, their residents and whatnot. But I think Mr. Keimer brings a real neighborhood perspective. He's, actively been working in the town. He's seen a lot of different discrepancies in some of the zoning in his area, and he's trying to work with the town. So I just think he brings a good neighborhood perspective to the zoning board, which is needed. And he's got experience in IT, And he's done, I guess he worked for publishing for like about 40 years, and he's had 30 years of building experience, so he knows a little bit about the building trade.
Any other discussion?
I also like Al Keimer for this second, but it looks like Steve and I are going to get outvoted, so we'll have to consider him if there's a spot opened up in the future.
There'll be one next year.
Exactly.
What's that?
I said there'll be one next year,
Okay.
and every year thereafter, apparently. We did a great job staggering that one.
I think they were all strong candidates, and I think everyone deserves a spot in there. We only have, one full term. We have, the couple alternates, and then, we did have the alternates who did a really great job, and so that, I kind of wanted to support them on there. I did also, but we could, going forward, if there's other spots, we could definitely consider out in the future.
Yeah, because we also have a planning board opening up later on this
Yeah.
year as well, so take that into
Okay.
account.
So all in favor, so we're going to vote on the slate for Tom Callahan as the full-term alternate, Ms. Cormo, and then the alternate as Chris Brochure.
So there should be a there was a nomination, so somebody needs to make that motion.
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a
think we need
second?
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Motion by Counselor Kopek, second by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno. Motion passes 3-2. Next, from the Fire Department, we have a motion to accept a reimbursable Fire Act grant of $172,590 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Homeland Security Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, and for the town manager to authorize acceptance of said grant.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I
All
have,
opposed?
can I ask Jim, can you brag about the fire department on this one? That's a huge grant.
It is a huge grant, and the match from the town is only $8,000, just over $8,000. And one of the things also part of maintaining the equipment, anyone in fire service understands it's an occupational health and safety issue with the cleaning of the equipment, with cancers and other ailments, that if the equipment's not cleaned on a regular basis, the firefighters themselves are exposed to wearing the same gear that's not cleaned. So this is a great grant, and it's the staff looking out for each other and proposing and applying for it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, from the Public Works Department, we have a motion to approve the contract with Precision Concrete Cutting Incorporated for sidewalk trip hazard removal on Point Judith Road from Ocean Road to Sunset Boulevard on both sides, State Road, in the amount of $14,332.80.
So moved.
Second, your Rhode Island was showing there.
What's that?
Said your Rhode
Oh, I
Island
know.
was showing.
Every now and then it comes out. Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Hold on,
Sure.
I have a question. This is for the concrete cutting for the sidewalk?
Yep.
Yes, and
Yeah,
repair.
I don't know if Steve's here or not, but I read in the blue sheet that the state owns the sidewalks, I guess, but we're liable for the maintenance of every portion of it? even
We are. They install it, we maintain it.
So that's on our liability. That's why it behooves us to cut the...
Correct.
And is there any, because that Point Judith Road goes all the way up to Stop and Shop. I mean, is there a plan to go one way or the other, or?
DPW assesses on a regular basis sidewalks that are affected, and this is one section that we've got complaints on both sides, some from the overgrowth and the buckling, and of the actual cracking and sinking of portions of the sidewalk with raised caps and things like that.
Yeah.
So we put it out to them, they get the price and came back with it. We'll continue to do that throughout town. We address the one, high priority complaints that come in, they get addressed right away. And then as they discover other areas that are impacted, they make a recommendation, they do it over a slow process within the budget.
So pretty much complaint-driven, but this particular one is they're not going to go all the way up the road
Oh,
or...
they inspect it too, and then when they get the
Yeah.
complaint, they inspect it, and they go, this needs it. That's how we got to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Oh, yep. Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a motion to approve the contract extension for unleaded gasoline, .145 cent increment, dollar increment over OPD, oil price daily, and diesel fuel, $0.145 over OPD with Santa Buckley Energy for a one-year period ending August 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next, from the Parks and Rec Department, we have a motion to approve the purchase of one new Ferris zero-turn lawnmower and commercial grass catcher for the Parks and Recreation Department from Pat's Power Equipment in the amount of $18,634.15, coming from the capital projects account. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council?
Yeah, I just, Jim, can you explain to the council and the public how the MOU came to be as far as who was there and, you know, the agreement between...
We're not there yet, Susan.
Oh.
That's next motion.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's the, we're on the
Sorry, I
lawnmower.
didn't hear you. I have a question on this
Yeah.
one, the next one I do.
Anyone from the public? Anyone else from the council? Questions? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, with the town of South Kingstown for fair share funding for the South Kingstown Senior Center.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So this one, I was going to have our town manager speak on this one. Mr. Tierney?
As everyone is aware, the MOU, the drafting of the MOU is at the direction of the town council after the adopted budget to fine-tune and actually articulate the sharing of services between South Kingstown and Narragansett. In the past, it's been in place for over 10 years, I believe, and there has been no written agreement. An appropriation was requested, a special appropriation was requested of the town of Narragansett for the services that they provide to Narragansett citizens, and the council would consider it and grant it. And this came about as we started to look at it more carefully, and we both have the same software systems now, so that we can track identical services. You know, it's apples to apples. It's not how we interpret it, or South Kingstown interprets it. And once the council directed us to draft the MOU, Jim Manny's staff, my staff, Jim and I met several times with all our staff and with each other, and the MOU came about. And we believe this is a good representation of what the council had wanted for the agreement. And in the event that something drastically changes, there's always an opportunity to, you know, to amend it as we go along, as toward the end of the MOU states. And currently, the 70-30 split is pretty much what's being provided now, and that's where we went with that, with a small escalator, but still, each year, we'll review the services offered, and if, you know, whether we want to increase or scale back, and we have that opportunity to do that.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted that 70-30 split. I wanted to make sure both sides were in agreement and felt that that was a fair allocation and split.
That is correct.
So I have one question, because we discussed this during the budget, and I thought that what was going to be included in here was our ability to, it says that towards the end, the third bullet point to the end, to establish the next fiscal year's budget appropriation. The most recent 4 quarterly service reports will be reviewed in January of each year. I thought we were going to review quarterly. to make sure that everything was, was progressing appropriately. And that's the only thing that I have a concern about. And the whole point of that was that we weren't sure, how much service was going towards Narragansett residents. And at the same time, I also thought we were going to be kind of looking at what we're providing to seniors in Narragansett and whether or not we should be increasing our engagement at the senior center here. So, and I could see where we might do that latter part and leave this alone while we do that, but I also thought that we were going to look at it quarterly and make determinations then.
We are. It's in January of each year. We'll look at the previous 4 quarters.
4 quarters, yeah. I thought we were going to do it quarter by quarter.
We'll review it every quarter. If we see anything drastic that needs to be adjusted, we would.
And are we continuing to take a look at what's happening at our own senior center to possibly bring our folks home, if you will?
We are. We're looking at different programs that could be put in place or things that serve the community better, but that wouldn't involving the town of South Kingstown. That's our center.
Right. But I mean, if we ended up having more folks, locally as opposed to in South Kingstown, that would change the percentages. So.
Absolutely. And we've had a great relationship with the town for years over the MOU.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I don't have a
But does it say quarterly? Because I know you're saying, I thought it looks like yearly, so maybe we should
It's annually that it's going to be done based on 4 quarters.
So maybe we should include that we're going to look at it, because it's a big issue. There's a lot of discussion on, should we be giving South Kingston money? How much money should we be giving? So as long as it says we review it.
It does. It does. And it does. What it basically says is if there's a greater than 2% fluctuation, higher or lower, than the current 70-30 split, then there would be a modification or adjustment.
Right, there will be an adjustment. And it does cite it in the 4th bullet point from the bottom, and also.
Right.
The only time.
I just thought it was going to be each quarter, that's all.
Yeah, they will give us a quarterly, and if we have a sort of discrepancy in it, we bring that to the council's attention and we'd request a modification. I don't think we'd have a problem with that.
Okay.
But it is based on 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually comes to the council in January for, the beginning of the budget session for the next year's appropriation.
Right.
And Jim, I know we have the same software. Are we also keeping track of how many South Kingstown residents are using our facility?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? I'm fine with the way it is.
Modification, too. Okay.
Anyone from the public? Ms. Celeberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I think we've jumped right ahead to this memorandum of agreement. The last time this was discussed, I thought we were going to survey our seniors, see what they wanted at our facility, what is drawing them maybe to South Kingston that we can provide. And a memorandum of agreement is a legal document. You just don't get out of it by reviewing quarterly. And we've just gone right ahead. There's been no survey. We're signing a memorandum, a legal document. We are committing ourselves to 30% of their costs, which I don't even know what they are. It says here there's an attached addenda, but I couldn't pull it up. It's not attached. So I don't know, what is this 30% figure? We've already given them $101,000. Now, are we going to start again? This is July 1st. We already gave them $101,000. Was that for last year? Is it for this July 1st to 2023 to 2024? Well, I mean, there's just so many things that aren't written out here. The other part of this is, which I think is really important, they talk about service units. So now say they have 10,000 service units. We do not know how many, and supposedly 30% of the service units are being used by our Narragansett seniors. But who are they? Are they all different people? Are they a group of 100 who decided we like South Kingston better and they go there every day? Are we spending all of this money maybe to just service a core group of Narragansett seniors who decided they want to go to South Kingston. We don't know that number, and that number is really important, because if it's 100 seniors and the cost is $100,000, I don't know what it is because it's not written here, it's $1,000 a senior. If it's 1,000 seniors, it's $100, a senior. So what is it? We need to know how many of our seniors are actually going there, and different seniors, and using up these service units. But again, what's the 30% of what? Of what? And it also, as I mentioned in the last meeting, South Kingston applied for a $250,000 grant to do their parking lot and entrance over at the senior center. If they don't get it, are we obligated in some way? I don't know. It's just way too vague. And again, we've jumped ahead, and we need to speak to our seniors and see what they want at our center that we spent $400,000 doing over a few years ago. Thank you.
To speak.
Mr. Tierney.
Well, to be clear, if there's any confusion from anyone in the audience, this took effect July, will take retroactively July 1st of this year, the funds that were already appropriated by the town council. As far as the town of South Kingstown redoing their parking lot, that's a capital project. This is for services. We would have absolutely no responsibility for that, and the agreement's very clear on what is not a service to the from South Kingstown, like transportation and things like that, the meal plan. It is very clear. Also, in the agreement, which has been reviewed by extensively, that upon verification of the percentage of services, both towns will agree on the following year's budget. It's a negotiation if the numbers change, and it would require council approval. It doesn't set a fixed dollar amount that'll never change. It just lays out the official agreement that the town council directed us to lay out so that this is memorialized going forward.
So Jim, can I just ask a question about the data of the seniors? Do you think that that's an important part of the agreement?
We have the same software,
so
we can see, we identify the services that are provided. We can see
how many?
The same on our side as they see, and we'll be sharing
Okay.
the same reports. They won't look different. They will be the same. Be like if you had a program, an Excel program we're using with the same numbers, and I was in a different town and we switched them,
Yeah.
we'd understand what the numbers are, and that's what we're facing with this one.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim, one more question on that. So the information that we'll have, will we be able to tell if there's duplication? So is each senior assigned a number ID, so we'll be able to know who's using what, and if they're using both?
I believe it's done by names. That's really into the weeds on that one, but Michelle should be able to answer. I believe it's by name.
Okay, so we'll be able to find out the answer to the concern that Catherine brought up, to find out how many people are actually using this. So the same people using both, or, okay, thank you.
We know how many services each person, so we know how many services an individual receives.
Okay.
So the way we were counting it before was just, these are the number of services we
Yes.
provided to individuals.
Thank you.
Dr. Alba.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. Yeah, my dad, he lived to 94 years and 8 months. It'll be 3 years. It's September 24th. God rest my father. Prayers for him, that he's watching over us. Thank you, Father, for being a role model to me. On that note, when my dad was alive, I was blessed to have him in our house until his final passing. He never had an interest going into a, senior center, and I'm sure I know some of the council members up here, I love to see their pictures of their dads and their loved ones, and I'm sure they would always want to be with their family too. And I understand not everyone has a family. But on that note, I think we should definitely look at the accountability in regards to how many of our seniors are actually utilizing that service in South Kingstown. And I'm all for brotherly love and sisterly love. That's a beautiful thing. And I loved it when the town manager says that he spoke to James Manny, town manager, and they're partners. They're working together. We should work together, and I think that's great. And on that note, when we're talking about signage, let's remember our brothers and sisters from South Kingstown, they use our beaches and stuff, so when they come here, hopefully, we're not going to be imposed too much restriction on that. We've got to work together. We use their services, they use our services. But on that note, I do think that Mrs. Catherine Celebrato did have a valid point, that we need to have a full accountability to make sure that whatever we are being charged, and I'm all for helping seniors, but whatever we're being charged, if we have, say, 50 seniors versus 100 seniors, that, on a percentage basis, we could do it on a ratio basis, on a percentage basis, is it, would it be more effective for us to, for example, explore having these people go to St. Elizabeth's Senior Center, if they have similar thing. If we have 50 seniors who are using this, and we could do a cost comparison, comparing the cost to a St. Elizabeth Center versus the town of South Kingstown. I'm all in support of supporting South Kingstown. I think we should support each other. But on the other hand, let's make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck to take care of those seniors in need. Thank you.
Anyone else for the public, ma'am?
Hi, Michelle Catroni, okay. The demographics for the age group 65 years and over is 20%, 24% in Narragansett. 55 to 60-year-olds, 55 to 64-year-olds, 18%. So basically, most of the town is 55 and over, and the biggest percentage is 65 years and over, 24%. But again, some of these may be snowbirds. So I think we need to figure it out. But I think there are some seniors I know of that don't even realize there is service in this town. So I think you got a lot to figure out. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's vote on this motion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, this motion was motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Police Department is a motion to authorize the town manager to give a $5,000 hiring bonus for any active police officer who has been certified by the Rhode Island Police Officers Commission on standards and training, who laterally transfers to the Narragansett Police Department and successfully completes their probationary year of service.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council?
Yes, I'd like to open up first. I'd like to ask Jim if you could please explain to us a little bit about why we're looking to offer a hiring bonus.
It's not just in Narragansett, it's across the country. The applicant pool for law enforcement positions has dropped dramatically. We've seen the numbers drop here. All our neighboring communities have seen it drop. And along with not just police service, municipal employees are looking to be appreciated and embraced more. And we have to entice these people to come here as if we were a private company to some extent. We certainly can't compete with them, but a hiring bonus for a lateral police officer. A lateral police officer would be someone that has already trained, already completed the academy, and would come to Narragansett, usually from another agency, from either already been working for a few years, or could possibly be someone with their military time had retired and is seeking to start a second career. And when you hire someone that's a lateral, you do save money, one, in the hiring process because it doesn't go on as long. Two, while they're not in the academy, they're on the road getting their field training. Whereas when you hire someone with no police experience, they're not post-certified, the police officer standards training certified in Rhode Island, you would have to pay the overtime the whole period of time while they're in the academy, and it would delay their actual rollout onto the road considerably, because it's a 12-week program, 12 or 13-week program of FTO training when they get back out. So that whole period of time, that officer is unavailable. Whereas if you hire a lateral, sometimes even a waiver that's trained, they come in and they basically hit the ground boots running. But we're still, even though we accept laterals, we're not getting applicants. Many departments aren't. So we have to come up with a more creative method to invite qualified candidates that would like to come and work in Narragansett. It's being done across the country.
What does it look like as far as the future for the police force right now? How many more openings do we anticipate in the near future?
Well, we have one vacancy now, immediate vacancy. There's several officers that are eligible to retire, but there's a possibility that 2 of them may go fairly soon. And also, we have officers that are deployed at times, and that also creates an issue, but we support those who serve in the military and serve our town as well. So it's necessary.
Do the unions have anything input on this at all?
Now, they've spoken to the chief, and they've spoken to me, the union president. They support it. They understand the issue of recruiting, qualified people. And also, even though you're getting you get qualified people who are laterals, you'll probably get more applicants. So you have a choice. Sometimes we get qualified applicants, and we only have a few applicants, and you can't shop around then. You get 2 or 3 people, and that's where you pick from.
I noticed in the motion it said that 5,000, but there is, East Providence is offering 7,500. Do you believe if we were to bump it up to 7,500, $2,500 after someone's been in their position for a year, that would help Narragansett have more applications headed our way?
I can't speak for an applicant who's putting in for that position, but human nature tends to seek more attractive employment.
Is there any interest in the council? Because I would like to do that. I would like to give the chief as many applications as he can get, and by increasing it slightly, $2,500 after they've been in a position for a full year, I'd like to make that motion to amend to that.
Before we do that, though, was there discussion, Jim, with you and the chief on the 5,000? Because Newport's 3,000, East Providence 750, they came up with 5, which seems like a good way to start, and I would assume that Chief Corrigan had something to say about it.
Yes, that's been the original recommendation from the chief right now.
Thank you.
So I think in combination, I'll let the other council members speak. Councilor Kopech.
I think 5,000 is reasonable. I think it's a very different, East Providence is a city. There's a lot of different kinds of activity there than we probably see in Narragansett. We have different kinds too, so.
Yeah, good point.
Councilor Ferrandi, any comments or any?
I've been reading this, and the observation said that the bonus is given after the police officer is here, is employed for 1 year.
Right.
It's not right off the bat, so they have to certify all their training. Am I right about that, Jim?
Yeah.
I believe.
One more time, Steve.
I believe the bonus kicks in after the police officer if it's a lateral transfer is here a year, correct?
Yes, the successful completion of their probationary period.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I mean, I'd be for raising it up to the 25 more hundred and go to the highest one if it means we're going to get a lateral transfer. I know the chief has tried to do the lateral before, and like Jim said, nobody's really applying for it. So, I mean, it's a shot, but I mean, it is taxpayer money also. It's at 5,000. Maybe we get something at the 5.
It might make
but I mean,
sense to
it
start
might
at
be necessary.
5,000, and if we don't get any, if we don't get anything going
Right.
on, we can always come back again.
Yeah, I agree with that notion. I think it's definitely negotiable going forward, but I think it was decided on this number. Obviously, we want to get good applicants and more applicants.
It's a small amount of money to offer. It really is, but it doesn't look like they have support, so sorry, Chief, tried.
Well, Chief, you got to aim higher next time, and this is what you submitted. So.
I think they'll be happy with the 5,000. I think that's pretty good.
Okay, any other discussion? Anyone from the public wishing to discuss this? Okay, so again, so when the members of the public are coming up to speak on a new agenda item, you should be either speaking in support or opposition of it and speaking to the motion itself. I think I saw Ms. Canavan raise her hand first.
Hi, Catherine Canavan, 190 Clark Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. When I was first reading that, I thought 5,000 was high. I'm a nurse. We don't see those kind of figures. Narragansett is pretty calm. East Providence, I agree. They have a lot more issues in East Providence that we don't have here. So I can see them asking for more money. If Newport's asking 3, that would have been my recommendation. Newport has more issues than we have, and they're asking 3. I don't agree with the 5. I definitely don't agree with 75. So I would even start at 3, and if that didn't work, then. But I don't know how long you've been working on this, or if this is a new thing that you're trying. Is this new, or have you already been trying the bonus?
Yeah, so this isn't like question and answer, so it's
Oh,
just your,
sorry. Okay,
yeah,
so-
yeah. So
Yeah,
you either
I-
support it or you oppose it, so you
Yeah,
just
I
kind of
oppose.
state
I
your
think
no.
we should
Okay,
go a little
thank
bit
you.
lower. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Alba?
Yes. Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, be going on 34 years this November. And we find as educators, they want to bid at school systems where there's calm, where there's peace. We have educators who are willing to travel 40, 50 miles to go into a safe zone school department. In this day and age, as you all know, we could have issues in schools. I know Mrs. Bonanno can attest that some schools are a lot better have qualified than others. On that note, as Ms. Caravan said, we have the quintessential place, quintessential city. We have peace, we have calm. We're not South Providence. You don't have the shootings. And when someone is also an educator and high rank, I believe police, they become lieutenants, they gravitate, they go higher up. The higher they go, the higher their salary. So sure, it's wonderful, we're going to be having a lateral transfer, but let's keep in mind that person is going to be paid that higher step. As an educator, there could be a $50,000 difference between a lower step teacher and a higher step teacher. So if he or she goes to a different school system, we've got to eat that cost. So on that note, I would say no, I am not for this. Out of all respect for the chief and our town manager, we live in a beautiful town. We are not a high crime. We don't have those drive-by shootings. If anything, you know, I would welcome, if I was a police officer in South Providence or one of these other areas where you have the drive-by shootings and the killings and whatnot, I would welcome to come over here in an opening. Maybe we should advertise in Providence. Maybe they don't see the advertisements. But to add any kind of increase, if you're going to be having someone who's at top step, you know, and then we're going to have to pay them that top step, in addition, that $3,000 or $5,000 more. And as Mrs. Caravan stated, we are not Newport. Newport has a lot higher crime rate than Narragansett. Thank you.
Ms. Celeberto?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Now, let me predicate my statement by, I'm opposed, by saying that my late father was president of a very large local of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. I'm very aware of what unions are about and why they exist and what contracts say. In this case, the union president isn't opposed, but what the heck's he going to say? The chief asked him, who's going to say, yeah, I'm opposed. This is essentially an end run around their contract. The police contract has incentives built in. You take courses, you get a step up or 2 steps up. You stay a certain length of time, you get steps up. This is an instant incentive that no one else is going to get. You want to create animosity? Well, give somebody $5,000 and the rest of them get nothing, including people maybe who came in a year ago, 2 years ago, people who've been on the force 20 years. Yeah, not a good idea. this is an overreaction to something we have going on in the country. Right now, people don't want to be police officers. The pendulum will swing back, and we just really have to wait it out. There are also perks to working in Narragansett. You heard that police officer, he spoke at a meeting. His children go to the virtually free daycare that the school is running out of the elementary school. You know how much money that is a person saves? See, town employees, children of town employees can go to that preschool. And we also have a 45-member police force. More people, safer it is to work, okay? This isn't Providence. Is Providence offering incentives? Nope. It doesn't make any sense. If you wanted to do something really practical, what you would do would come up with some kind of program that would help these younger people coming in to be able to buy houses. Years ago in Providence, to get police and fire on board, what they did was they subsidized mortgage payments so that they could come into town, into the city. And
Ms. Alberto, please stay on topic.
I am on topic. I'm on the topic of what you're not doing right here, and I oppose this. Okay? So I'm coming up with something else that you should have thought about, okay? But obviously you didn't. This is always like you have to learn to compartmentalize. This group has to learn to compartmentalize. If somebody puts a motion on, you can't separate from, I like this person, from, this isn't a good idea. You just blend the two together, and you feel if you reject a motion, you're saying, I don't like this guy, I don't have confidence in what he's coming up with. This, I'm totally opposed. As I said, there are perks to working in Narragansett. You're giving something to one person or two, whoever come in, that you're not giving to people that are already on the job. This just isn't right. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this?
I'd like to make one comment.
Thank you.
Couple of comments.
Sure.
First of all, there are 43 police officers in the town of Narragansett, not 45. The new people coming in as laterals, it's narrowed down very much. We don't have a lot of violent crime in Narragansett, which is a great thing because one of the first things that a police department has to do is to prevent, detect, investigate, and apprehend. They do pretty good at the beginning part, preventing and detecting, and that's good. But what we don't have down here is we don't have applicants, and we won't have 43 police officers for very long if we don't get applicants. And I think, they mentioned Newport, but Middletown also gives a $5,000 bonus for new hires, to recruit them, to get them in. They're not union members. When they're hired, they're not union members at that juncture.
Right?
And the union supports it 100%. They know that it's a recruiting tool to bring someone in, to get a good applicant to come work with them. They've accepted that. I know the union president well, and he made it very clear, no, we can't get anybody. So that's why they support it.
Thank you. Saying there's no more comments, I'm going to take this motion up to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading amendments to Chapter 38 entitled Law Enforcement of the Narragansett Code of Ordinances, specifically to amend Section 38-23 entitled Qualifications for Appointment to the Police Department at the Police Department's request.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion from the council?
I just had, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
Councilor Cicilline.
so it's a lower age and a bigger qualifications for the pool?
A higher age.
So 21 and above?
We'll let,
Yeah, I mean, I just want to understand.
Mr. Tierney, can you just explain this one to the
The
council?
qualifications of the police, it seems like they're widening a little bit.
This takes the cap off the age of hiring the officer. It
35.
gives the decision to the town to decide, whether a good candidate, it might be over 35 years old, they could be an excellent candidate. It gives us the option to evaluate these candidates, and it's another tool to expand the qualified applicant pool.
Right, so it's lowered to 21 years old, right?
No, it was always 21.
Always 21.
All right, so it's 21,
There was a cap at the age.
cap at 35.
Right.
Correct.
And then the qualification, the only difference is it's a reserve now, somebody that's in the reserve as opposed to, for the second change. I just want to understand both changes.
It's lifted the age cap for hiring as well.
So the age cap and then the qualifications as far as who can apply for the job, right?
Yes,
So
the changes would be active reserve, active duty,
Or
or
retired.
reserve, military,
Okay.
or 1 year
Pro- I think so.
full-time employment
Right.
as a police officer, correctional officer, or equivalent law enforcement experience in an agency with arrest powers, which falls in line with the laterals and the potential waivers for another police officer.
All right, so 21 to 35?
No, the 35 is
No,
gone.
say it again.
35 is
25 to
gone.
21 to
Over
Whatever.
21.
It could be-
It's
it
over
could be
21.
over 21.
21, and then who can apply? It used to be, college, and it just changed a bit to other qualifications.
There's options.
Yeah, so it gives more options.
They've opened up
To the
options for
reserve.
qualified people that have similar skill sets, and it's, when the police department does the recruiting, they can evaluate them.
So with the changing of the qualifications and adding the bonus, are we really, and maybe you can ask the chief to speak to this, we're really struggling in Narragansett with expanding the police offices that much?
It's all
We don't
around the
get as many
country.
applicants to-
I mean, it seems
Yeah.
quite a bit to widen.
It's serious.
I thought it would be desirable to come, but.
Will be now. So I have one technicality. When I was reading the job description, I just thought that there's a section, section A7, which adds some of these new opportunities to, including it's
Where are
60
you
college
on?
credits, 2 consecutive years of honorable active duty or reserve military service, one full year, 1 year full-time employment as a police officer, corrections officer, or equivalent law enforcement experience in an agency with arrest powers by the date of application. There's a second section that sort of enumerates that, and I just, in E4, and I just wanted to make sure that the enumeration stayed the same for those two pieces. I've provided that information to the chief, to the town manager, and the town clerk, and they are in agreement with that, so we're just going to modify that, correct? And we just have to, I can't remember what we have to do. Do we have
We
to?
can just, if we come to a consensus to support it, I think that's fine, correct?
All what you're saying in blue.
You just have to put the language.
You want to make an amendment
Amendment, okay.
to change the language of section
E4.
E4
Right.
to read military discharge or 60 college credits or prior police service, if any.
Right. That's what it is.
So you need to make that
So
motion.
I'm making that motion.
And I'll second that, so you're taking all that blue writing
Yeah.
and it's going in the other piece.
It's really just a technicality, but it cleans the language up a little bit.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the language, a motion by Counselor Kopic, second by Counselor Cicilline Bonanno. Any discussion on that amendment? I'm fine with it. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? About the amendment? This is particularly about amending the language. This is what you would be speaking on. You have input on the language that we just amended?
I can't hear what we were just saying.
It includes the amendment.
Can't hear what he's saying.
Okay.
Deb,
Okay.
is that bringing it into line with the earlier,
I'm sorry.
is that bringing it in line with the earlier qualifications?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, okay.
It's just cleaning something
Yeah,
up a
you
little
just
bit.
tap
That's all.
Okay, so we just need to go back to the main motion.
Do we have to vote on this first?
Vote on the amendment first?
Oh, yeah. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Let's go back to the main motion as a motion to approve the motion as amended. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, from the police department is a motion to approve the purchase of
Do you want-
13.
Janet, I think Janet wants us to move the motion.
Was there public comment on it? On the main
Oh, on the main motion, okay. Public comment, Dr. Alba.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I have a question to the town manager. Are we moving up the age limit, the age?
Dr. Alba, we don't ask
Okay,
questions on this, so
So the
they,
acceptable age limit, has it been, is this, I heard him saying 35. Is that
It's-
part of this new proposal?
it's removing that 35, that's what it is.
We're moving it to 35.
No, we're
getting rid of
removing
the age
35.
cap.
Okay, there's no
As
age cap.
Susan asked
Okay,
this question
so that-
earlier.
So that was my question, we're getting rid of the age cap.
That was Susan's
Correct.
question as well that was answered.
One time, I was a candidate for the state police, I actually made it to the finalist, and there was strict criteria. You know, they did a psychological test, a physical test. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the state
So-
police have mandates. They have strong
Correct, but
mandates.
the motion is
Okay,
to
right.
approve it. You're
So-
getting off topic.
Okay, well,
You're getting
well,
off topic.
Well, no, it's still topic.
No, it's
That's
not.
what-
The motion
please.
is to approve
Okay,
the
so
motion as
I would
amended.
say that we should look at what the state police, what their proposals are in regards to age limit. If we allow people who are 35, 36, 37, 38, the more older people to join our department, there's that more chance, the older we get, more chance that they get hurt on the job. We all age. Being a police officer is a physically demanding job. That's why the state police have an age limit criteria. So if we're going to eliminate that age limit criteria, that could be setting us up, I feel, with bringing in possibly some individuals who might eventually do the wear and tear of the job, become disabled or whatever it might be. So it's just a strong consideration that if we're going to be getting rid of that 35 age limit, you know, we might want to speak to Town Manager James Manny, who was the superintendent of state police, and get his input. But that's strong consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Dennis Lynch.
Mr. Lynch.
I'll be quick. Dennis Lynch, 22 Central Street. So I am standing in support of the recommendations from town management and from the police chief to create greater opportunities for recruits. I think there's one topic that was missing tonight. Why don't people want to come to Narragansett to be a police chief? When I was chairman of the South County Hospital, which is one of the best places in the state to work in terms of a hospital, competitive pay, benefits, et cetera, the number one difficulty in bringing nurses, doctors, administrators was the high cost of living in all of the surrounding areas. So don't discount the fact that it's very difficult. People want to live close to where they work. And that is, I believe, you'll find that across the board, one of the key reasons why it becomes more difficult, irrespective of this being a great town, to be a police officer in. So I certainly support giving the department more latitude to get qualified candidates. Thank you.
Ms. Celebrito.
Catherine Celebrito, 48 Earls Court. I generally support this, except that I think there should be an age cap. You've removed the cap from 35 to what, 50, 60, 70? You really need to put a cap. We've had a cap before, we should have a cap now. Set one, 40, 45, whatever. But there really should be a cap. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? A motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the purchase of 13 radios for the police department from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $53,447.92.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Ms. Canavan?
Catherine Canavan, 190 Clock Road, Narragansett. I just think it's a really excessive price, $4,000 a radio. I think it's over 4,000 actually. So I just don't agree with the cost. I think it should be maybe looked into other companies. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Yeah, I know in the police department, when we order cars, they have like a master plan agreement where they can actually get these cars and these vehicles at below cost, that it's not offered to the public because of the agreement they have, being a municipal police department. And I guess they do that for all police, they have special contracts with these car dealerships. So when the police does have to make any kind of a purchase, I was just wondering, and I have no idea of knowing, but if they also are granted, or if there is that, if they get that special VIP pricing, which makes it so that it's a very, very competitive price to save the police department some money. Thank you.
Jim, can you answer that? Because it's right there in the motion.
Yeah.
Yes, the town will be purchasing these items pursuant to a competitively procured National Association of State Procurement Officials contract, and it provides the contract number. Motorola is the only show in town, folks.
Thank you.
And that's the way we bid all of them. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Motion by Council Lawler, second by Council Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, from the Community Development Department, we have a motion to refer several development-related bills passed by the Rhode Island General Assembly and signed into law by the governor this year to the Planning Board for evaluation of provisions to be considered and to initiate drafting of appropriate text for incorporation into the zoning ordinance and subdivision land development regulations as necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to turn this one over to our town manager so he can explain this item. Mr. Tierney.
Yes, there were in June, 10 bills were passed into law that impact city and town regulatory provisions. As outlined in the bill, the primary effects were attached. We're not going to do a presentation on this evening because this is simply a referral to the planning board. And then from there, planning board will make recommendations, solicitor, other legal counsel will make recommendations. It'll come to the council, there'll be a public hearing, there'll be a first reading, public comment, there'll be a second reading, and it'll be adopted. These will be bound by these state laws anyway, but there's provisions within our ordinances that have to change to adjust to these ordinances. So this is just a process at this juncture, but we do have to get it done as soon as possible.
Thank you. All right, so all in favor? Aye. All opposed? A motion by Council Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to approve text revisions to the electric service agreement between Next Era Energy Services, Rhode Island LLC, and the town of Narragansett, dated September 21st, 2022, to authorize a continued 6-month delivery term.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council?
Jim, I have a question on this, or maybe we have Mike to answer it. The motion states that we had 6 months and we were going to eventually make it in a year, but it almost looks like the company who's here tonight is telling us that they're concerned that there would be too much savings and that people would drop out of the program. That's how it reads. Can you explain this?
Good evening, Council President.
I would
members of
encourage
council.
the Next Era make the presentation, and we can ask them some questions about it, instead of us speaking for them.
Okay. When I read the motion, it was basically they support the 6, and, because it's the longer term. It's the electricity rate are volatile at this juncture, so.
Yeah, why would we agree that there would be savings over 12 months? The difference in summer would logically end to individuals leaving the program. I don't care if individuals leave the program.
Well, what's their advantage if they don't?
I'm actually good. I don't have any questions.
Good evening.
I mean, we don't need a presentation. We're approving the language. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some members of staff of the Good Energy LLP here tonight, and we have a very brief presentation.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't made aware of that. So, yeah, I didn't know that there was staff from Mr. Tierney. So was this on the agenda for them to present?
Yes, more as a presentation with their request to the council.
Okay.
It was forwarded to everyone.
Okay.
It's a short presentation on what this process means with Next Era and the town if it's adopted.
Okay, thank you. So are you presenting, Mr. DeLuca? Okay, so
No,
you're just
just
introducing.
introduction.
Okay, thank you.
First,
Okay, thank you.
My apologies for the mix-up and not informing you that we had a presentation. But we are 4 months into the Narragansett Community Choice Electricity Program, and we had asked Good Energy, who is our consultant, to give us an update. So they sent you a memo addressed to the council dated August 21st, in which they provided you a bit of an update and some description of the request for the change that Councilwoman Lawler has asked about. So, so with that, I would just like to say that that's what they're here to do. They're going to do two things. One is to give you a brief update on the progress of the program and how it has gone in the first 4 months of since its inception, and secondly, to address those two changes that are being requested to the electric services agreement that they are asking the council to authorize. The staff of Good Energy is here. We have Rachel Ferdinand, who will open the presentation. She will provide the overview of the progress, and Patrick Roach will follow with an explanation of the requested changes. They'll be available for questions and answers after that. So without any further delay, Rachel
Thank you.
Ferdinand from
Thank you.
the Good Energy.
It's going to be brief, right? Brief.
Hi, Rachel Ferdinand. Okay, great. So I'll make this super, super brief. Basically, as Mr. DeLuca said, we are 4 months out from the start of May 2023. You guys had just under 10,000 eligible residents, and of those 10,000, 1,700 opted out, which leaves us with 7,300 enrolled. Most of those are residential. We have some commercial and a few industrial as well. In this program, most people opted to stay in the standard product, which is pretty normal as far as these programs go. We do have some people who opted to go to the basic route, which provides some additional savings, and it opts down to the state standard for the renewable. The standard option, which most people stayed into as of the automatic enrollment, provides an additional 5% of renewable, and it is still 10% below what the Rhode Island Energy Last Resort Service is at this point. And so you can see here some of the savings. Again, the basic option provides the most savings. So of the 540 people who opted into that, you got $10,000 savings. People who stayed in the standard product, they got, this is cut off a little bit at the bottom, but it's basically $100,000 of savings for residents across the board in Narragansett that sit in that standard option. People who opted into the 100% option did spend more, but that is to be expected. It's above the state price right now for last resort service, but people who opt into that product typically know that's what's going to happen. But people who opted into the 50% option, which still is above the state standard, did actually get a bit of savings, so they were able to, take advantage of the green energy as well as some of the savings available in this program. And so just hop right into the contract change.
Excellent. Thank you. So Patrick Roach, Good Energy. So as the slide says, we had launched this program with a 6-month rate with the intent to move to 12-month rates there for that more stable pricing, longer-term pricing. As you may know, when we were starting to launch this program, we were coming off one of the most volatile energy markets, right? One of the highest winter rates ever. A lot of those conditions are still persisting. They haven't quite moved out of the system yet, and that's partly in the way that Rhode Island Energy procures. They have these hedges over time, so the past sticks with us in a way for a while. So what we're asking for this change to have the option to for the town to choose between a 6 and 12-month rate, which would be based on our recommendations to the town administration. And for this upcoming period, so the current launch price goes through the end of October. For the period starting in November, we would be recommending sticking with a 6-month term for that period. So the option to move to 12 would still be on the table for the future, but and I'll explain why we're recommending that. And so, yeah, so effectively, what we're really seeing is that in Rhode Island historically, the difference between the winter price and the summer price for Rhode Island Energy was pretty small, maybe 3 cents, something like that. But we're looking, going into this winter, like a very similar volatility as there was last year. So last winter was upper 17 cents, and then coming down 7 or 8 cents for the summer. So really big volatility. And we're seeing that looking like it's going to persist, particularly for this winter. So what we're seeing here is, Rhode Island Energy's rate is going to be about 17.7 cents again, starting in October. And again, their rate right now is about 10 cents. And working with Nextera, our supplier, who's been making the purchases over time, which ultimately add up to the rate that we would be paying, what they're forecasting is a range for the winter, our winter rate, between sort of 16.9 and 18.9, and then the summer being 9.5 to 11.5. So those are ranges that will be finalized based on where the contract amendment goes and also the final procurements. But what that means is that you'd sort of average out to somewhere where you could win big in the winter, but also sort of lose big in the summer. And yes, technically, if you stayed in the program that whole time, you should come out about even. But for a few reasons, we'd really recommend it, particularly at this moment, to stick with the 6 months. So if we do stick with the 6 month, what that's going to probably look like is that we can be sort of at or just below the utility this winter. And Massachusetts, where we've run these programs for a long time, their volatility between the winter and summer has been similar to Rhode Island, and that results, when you set a 12-month rate, results, you win a little bit in the winter, you're really close in the summer. So I think we can get there, but with this, particularly with the program being so new, and I think we're recommending that next summer, with customers are really sort of underwater, so to speak, that may really not look great for the program, but also lead a lot of people to leave, which is totally their prerogative. But then we think we're going to be in great shape again next winter. And a lot of those people, people don't necessarily look at their electricity bills all the time. They maybe remember, should I join back in? And so I think for a few different reasons, what we've been recommending to all the other 6 communities that are in this sort of buying group together is for this winter to move to the 6-month rate. And by having this, the contract amendment, that would enable us to have that option for the town. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks. Any questions from the council?
So does
Councilor
that mean
Kopic?
that, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah,
Councilor Brady.
it's just a statement. I mean, it seems like, this is up to the council how you can, if you want to offer a 6-month because it's better for you. I mean, and we're really, if we make any decision on this, we're really speaking for all these ratepayers. And that, maybe agree to one thing, and they may not even know that this is going to happen. So, they have to be notified before I feel comfortable about looking at this. I mean, it's kind of premature at this point. Now, they signed up for one thing, and now it's changing. And this is electricity, and, the council's I don't want to say they're on the hook for, but, it's our decisions. We have to change. Are we going to be in the energy business and have to adjust how they procure energy? That's what we signed up for. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a lot for the past future councils also.
I agree with
get
you,
the
Steve.
savings,
I just don't see why the town of Narragansett wants to dictate to its residents which energy program to use. So I'm not going to vote for this.
Councilor Kopic.
I don't think that's what we're doing here. I think what we're doing is looking
not
for
right.
the best possible rate for our energy across time. But my question to you was, would we be making the switch to 12 months come this next spring? Is that the idea?
We'd be looking at that to see if that would, based on where energy markets are at that time, we'd be making a recommendation.
And why do we think that energy markets are going to be any less volatile next year?
Well, we're seeing a few factors, particularly with the the disruption to global supply chains, partly with COVID, but also the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We have seen that start to move out of pricing, but again, the way that Rhode Island Energy's rates are constructed, because they made a lot of purchases in the past, those are impacting those.
Right, so that'll change over time.
And if I could just address also the question. So when we launched the program, in terms of what are customers expecting, I think that's really important. When we launched the program, the letter everyone got said we have a rate for 6 months, and after 6 months, we're going to announce what comes next. So we didn't make any promises about the length of time afterwards, but what we did let people know is this rate's good for 6 months, and we're gonna let everyone know. And the way that we're planning with the contract to let everyone know is the same process that Rhode Island Energy uses to announce their new rates, which is largely leveraging, working with the town, all of the sort of social media, website we can, working with the press. We've been getting a lot of coverage about this program and finding ways to connect and showing up here to let people know a change is coming.
Another question that I have is, am I correct? I thought what I saw on the slides was that with the exception of the 100% renewable energy group, everybody who switched out of the last resort program actually had reduced supply costs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so, and I think the other thing that people don't really understand is that our electric bill is made up of two parts, supply and service. And what Rhode Island Energy does is it reduces your service fee in the winter because it increases your supply fee, and it does the reverse in the spring. So essentially, you're paying the same bill if you have the last resort. So I think, and I just want to make that point so that people have some clear understanding of what's happening. The other piece I want to say is that what you're telling us is that we might not have quite as rosy a picture in the next 12 months as we have in the first 4 months of this program. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
true. We'd have to see what the final
So,
numbers are.
I mean, the reason we have to make this decision is because it's a town, it's a town-sponsored action. But I think that, we got pretty good advice when we started with Good Energy, so I'd be inclined to go with what Good Energy says.
Thanks. Any councilors?
No, I mean, I support it too. I think it gives the residents another opportunity, and I remember they didn't give definite rates. They said, we'll see what happens at 6 months, and we'll see what happens after that, and people can decide. I talked to a lot of people in there, trying to figure out if they want to be in, so I'm fine with that.
As am I. Anyone from the public wishing? Thank you very much, by the way, for that presentation. Anyone else wishing to speak? Dr. Alba? So again, in support or opposition of this motion?
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I agree with Councilwoman Lawler on this. I've stayed with Rhode Island Energy. My bill has actually gone down from previous years. In all due respect to these individuals, they're representing this particular business. Maybe we should get Rhode Island Energy to show up and give their take. So, like I said, I just think we need to be fair, and I am suspect when, I appreciate this town trying to reach out and trying to say, we're trying to get the best costs, and we got this sponsored program. People can do this on their own. They've had these programs around for years, because I was involved with it one time, and then my price was higher than Rhode Island Energy. I said, wait, I don't want to stay with this, because they did go up. So the thing is, a lot of people, when they go into this thing, they have the idea that it's going to be saving them money, and as it was discussed today, it might not be as rosy as a picture next 12 months. It might be costing them more money. So it's a scary situation when the town is endorsing or trying to push this initiative and saying it's going to save people money, and then it might not. So that's just what we got to consider about. We have to consider that, And like I said, if we're going to have these people speak, then let's have Rhode Island Energy speak. Have those representatives come here. Because, like I said, we all want transparency. I think it's good for all of us. And my energy bill has actually gone down with Rhode Island Energy. So thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, so we're going to take a vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 3-2. Thanks again for the presentation. Next up is a motion to read, pass, and adopt as a second reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled An Ordinance in Relation to Zoning as it relates to text and mapping of Section 5.5 entitled Districts for the purpose of adding a new historic district zone, 170 Clark Road, the Camp.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Engineering Department, we have a motion to approve the purchase of a trailer-mounted portable emergency generator from the Wastewater Division from Craft Power Corporation in the amount of $54,740.54.
So moved.
Second?
And this is using ARPA funding and grant funding. Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have a motion to refer the request from Kenneth Urban in regard to Plat N-S Lot 399, 147 Treasure Road for waiver of the sewer policy for the Sewer Policy Committee for review.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 78, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Utilities Sewer.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Mr. Van Germeesch.
Richard Van Germeesch, 55 Osceola. I'm speaking on behalf of the Narragansett Town Finance Committee. We strongly support the recommendation of the sewer use fee study. It's important that we get the town to understand what is going on. We had a great meeting at the Finance Committee. Dennis Lynch was there. He is interested in using the same format for the beach fee. So this will, I think, get us out of a potential liquidity crisis, which I mentioned a couple of times before. And also, I think another justification for changing this rate is that how many rates haven't changed in 30 years? And I think this was one of the important factors that caused this shortfall. But I think you're going to have a chance to really communicate with the users of the sewer use fee, because they have to understand that this rate really hasn't changed in 30 years, that a sewer use fund is supposed to be operated at a break-even revenue minus expenses, including depreciation, and this hasn't been for the last 5 years. Somehow there has to be a communication, and we urge that this communication be open to the public, so the public cannot look at the increased rate and say, you didn't tell me about this. So it is incumbent that each of the people that are serviced by the wastewater facility be given an explanation of why their rates are being raised, and also a discussion of what a sewer use fund should be in an accounting sense. Well, this will make it a little bit easier to handle some very angry people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we just point out that we had a presentation, I don't think Mr. Vangermesh was here, but we had a presentation at our last meeting on this very thing, so.
Ms. Ciliberto.
Catherine Ciliberto, 48 Earls Court. Better turn off the audio for this one because I don't think this goes far enough. I think the fees have to be raised higher than what's proposed. All we're going to do here is get ourselves even instead of thinking about the future. There are so many areas in town that aren't sewered. We have to move towards sewering this whole town. And this doesn't do that. So now suppose we decide to sewer Great Island, we're going to have another bond. See, what we do is we keep borrowing instead of saving. And the way to save in this kind of case is to raise the rates higher. Thank you.
Dr. Alba.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. You know, we're all talking about rentals. I had a rental at one time, and
Are you in support or opposition? We're talking about this first reading. Do you support this
Exactly,
reading?
right. So as Ms. Ciliberto gave her speech, let me give you my speech. She talked about the reason why she wanted to have the rates increased. So I do support rates. If they have to go up, that's fine, but I would like to add a caveat, and that would be if one has a rental property, then they should be taxed somewhat at a higher rate. For the simple reason is if you go on Venmo or any of these sites and you have a 3 or 4 bedroom renting out to 10, 15 people, they're taxing our sewer systems that much more. So as a result of that fact, then I feel that we should tax them that much more. It's just a consideration. They get to write it off too. You know, if you're getting these Airbnbs that are making $5,000 a week on rentals, they can afford to pay a higher premium for taxing our sewer systems. So if our sewer systems are going to have to be retrofitted, we're going to need a new infrastructure to accommodate the increased demand, well then there should be a surcharge added on to our rentals who are taxing our sewer system. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay. We'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a motion to read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 78, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Utilities, Water Rates, and Charges.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion from the council?
All set.
Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Lawler, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Counselor Ferrandi, second by Counselor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Good night, everyone. Thank you.